Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. I think just growing up with deaf parents and being in the deaf culture had taught me to be inclusive because I saw my parents get isolated or left out a lot. And I didn't grow up thinking I'd be a real estate broker. I grew up like interpreting for my parents' doctor's appointments when I was 8, translating the world between the two communities. And I think I learned early on how isolating it could be when no one speaks your language, like literally or emotionally. So I saw how many people still experience that in major life decisions. And so I knew I had to be something different to offer. I think that's how it started. Yeah, I think that I always remembered when I was in kindergarten and we went on a field trip to the Denver Zoo, and I think that's one of my earliest memories. And I remember having to, or my mom like walked up, and then my friends are there, and I just was signing to her, and they're like, "Oh, is your parents deaf? Like you sign?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's my first language." So we learned sign language when we were babies, and we learned it before we even spoke. And so we had to go to like my mom always said we learned how to talk through the TV. Yeah, yes, they're both deaf. My dad was born deaf, and then my mom had I think it's the chicken pox and the measles at the same time when she was 9 months old, and that's how she became deaf. Yeah, exactly. And it's my normal. Like it's all I've known. Like so, ASL to me was all I knew. So it was easy for me to do that. But when my son went in high school, he took ASL for like one of his language, and it was hard. Like it was completely different. So for me, like ASL just comes naturally and fluently, but with him, it was completely different. Like I couldn't imagine learning ASL as an adult. I'm glad I learned when I was a child. I think because Yeah, I think it's because I remember how heavy it felt when I was watching my parents like buy their first home, and they were struggling to advocate for themselves in a world that didn't really accommodate them because they didn't even have interpreters in the closing table. So I stepped up and started like interpreting for them because those are like a big decision. It's your life decision. I think that's why I wrote the book to raise awareness and to show people that it's okay to be different and different is okay. And I knew that I can offer a better experience for the deaf and hard of hearing community by helping them buy homes because I'm fluent in ASL, so we speak the same language and we know the deaf culture. Yes, yep, and it's on all book platforms as well, like Amazon, and Raised in Silence has all the links to it. Yeah, because before they weren't, technology has come a long, long way now, but they never had interpreters for them in the closing. So they would just have to write and just read what they are signing, which I think is hard. So I think with any language, if you speak their language, then you can understand it more and you feel more comfortable because you trust the community. So I think just being with the deaf culture, and when you buy a home, there's certain things that the deaf and hard of hearing community like it has to be deaf friendly. So you have to have an open kitchen into the living room, and so you're able to sign to each other. So yeah, where a lot of people don't realize that. So when they have an agent who is advocating for them and know the deaf culture, I think it makes them a lot more comfortable and happy in their home purchase instead of being stressed out. Yeah, my probably 85% of my clients are deaf or hard of hearing, and I do all walks of life for the real estate, but the majority of it is I'm an advocate for that community. So the majority of it is the deaf and hard of hearing. Yes, yeah, a lot of referrals because I've been in it for 33 years, and so yeah, I've been in it for a very long, long time. So I'm real estate or I'm referral based mostly. I think it's taught me to have empathy and to know that all they want to do is just be seen and heard and not left out. So it's helped me build a lot of different communities. I'm on the board of three different deaf and hard of hearing boards, and so we do a lot of the galas and things like that. So I think being in the community has just taught me to have a big heart and just to know just to be inclusive with people and just listen to them and hear them. Yeah, we just had one last week actually. So we had a big deaf gala. So it was the Dove event, and like over 85 people showed up, and it's just I think with the deaf and hard of hearing community, they're very like emotional. So they and not emotional, but like expressions and things like that. So it's actually a lot of fun. But everyone always says that it's always the quietest party there because like we're all signing, but it's the most expressive part like party. Yeah, and that community loves music and they love to dance because they can feel the beat. So to me, like they're more in tune with it because they don't have one of the senses. So they love dancing and they love music. Yes, yep, yeah. To the beat, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, they are definitely very good dancers. The whole community is. I think seeing the looks on their faces when they understand something, and how appreciative that they are that they have someone who's advocating for them and trying to make them feel included. So I think that gives me motivation to continue to go on, because just helping people, I think, and just making them feel like they belong, I think is very, very important, and it goes a long way. Yeah, so I had a real estate client who said that, so they had a hearing agent that was helping them before, and they said that it was one of the worst experiences they ever had, because they didn't understand anything. They didn't understand the culture, so they couldn't really help them through the home, or just be, they felt very isolated and not helped. So when I helped them with the next home, they said it was a completely different experience, because I got who they were, and I know about the culture and the culture and the like the communication. And so I think that communication and culture is key in the entire thing. It was a nice home. It was like a big ranch, and it was completely open, because the homes have to be open, because that way you can communicate if you're having like Thanksgiving or with your family or whatever. You're able to look out on the other thing and communicate with them. But I did have one situation. This is kind of funny, where we had went to show a house, and we had turned the buyer had turned the what's that called, the swamp cooler on. I don't know if you have swamp coolers over there, but yeah, so a swamp cooler, which is driven by water. So they turned it on, and but she didn't hear something going on with it. So we left, because I was outside, so I didn't know that whole thing happened. We came back the next day to show it, and water, it was everywhere, because the swamp cooler was broken and it was making noises, but she couldn't hear it, and I was outside. And so the whole basement was flooded, and the ceiling like fell, and oh my gosh, it was it was such a mess. But she ended up buying the house. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like it's just community and connection, and just the idea of just trying. So even if you don't understand their language or anything, there's a lot of apps now, and there's a lot of technology driven stuff that we never had back then. And so I think that if people just try to communicate with them, and so they don't feel like they're alone, and they feel like they belong and that they're included. Like you don't have to twist yourself to fit into spaces that were made for you, and nobody's perfect, but if you just try, I think that just goes a long way with them. Yep. Yeah. I think I developed that motto because there's a lot of people in all communities, and my son's gay, so I saw him struggle with being inclusive too. So I'm with the LGBTQ plus community and the deaf and hard of hearing community, and I think it goes hand in hand, because all they want to do is feel like they belong and feel like their authentic self. And so I think that that's where I came up with with just try, because they might not hear you, but you're taking it like they're ignoring you, but you don't know that they can't hear. And so just try with them, or like even with the LGBTQ plus community, all they want to do is just feel like they belong, and like they feel like their authentic self. So if I think if you just try to be nice and have a heart, I think that is huge. Oh, yeah, I think so because I saw when my son came out young, so he came out at 12, which is really good, that he felt comfortable enough to do that with me. And I just saw him struggling through school. Like um, people would like throw rocks at him and they would bark at him and things like that. So I saw like my son struggle with not feeling like he fits in or that he belongs. And so I think me being in the deaf and hard of hearing community and seeing my parents struggle in a different way, I think that made when he came out completely fine because I knew how he felt. And so I feel like for someone who's like bridged the communities together, I think it helped me learn to be resilient. And I think just try reminds people that progress starts with like one step and one conversation and one effort to understand or try to connect with them. But and you don't have to be perfect. You just have to begin. Yeah. I think it's well, technology's definitely come a long way, and I think that communities are coming together as well. And I think it's about like showing up when things feel uncomfortable or uncertain, and it's whether it's learning sign language, buying a home, or writing a book. I think trying is what opens the door. And now I think with the sign language interpreters being there, now we have video relay services. They're having interpreters now being at the Super Bowl and the newscaster. And I think that now I think people are trying to be aware and trying to be more inclusive for both sides. So a long time ago, back then, when technology was way back then, they had we had what they called TTYs, and so you would put like the phone on it, and you would type, and then that it would make like a buzzing noise, and it'd go over to the other TTY, and then so that's how you would communicate. So now we have video phones, and we have FaceTime, we have Google Meet, so we have all of those the more like places where you communicate. So a deaf and hard of hearing person will call into the video relay service. There'll be an interpreter on their video, and then they talk to the other person, the hearing person on the other line. So now you actually can physically see somebody while you're talking to them. Yeah, I use it a lot. I use it to FaceTime with my clients, and a lot of them want to meet face to face. But the relay service has been amazing, and so that came. I can't remember how long ago it came out, but it's been huge to have that to help the community because now they can actually talk to the mortgage person instead of having to go through the TTY service. So now it's like it's more personal, I think, because you're actually communicating with somebody on the other side instead of just a computer. Yes. I think a lot, yeah, I think a lot of communities are becoming more and more together. Like a lot of the Dove, we're having more hearing people attend the galas because they just think it's very inspiring and interesting for them. And so I feel like now compared to back then, a lot of communities are becoming more and more together, and they're bridging the gaps between the communication because there was a lot of hearing people at the gala last week and more than I've ever seen. So I think that we're finally like getting to the point where we can bridge the gaps. And then this weekend we're doing like a CODA festival, Child of Deaf Adults. So that those two worlds are merging too, with the deaf community and the CODA community. So I think it's just about all belonging. Oh yeah, yeah. So the school out here, well, I think that's all over, but it's for blind. So it's deaf, hard of hearing, and blind school. So they all go to the same. Yeah, and I actually, my dad had a couple of friends who were deaf and blind, and we always signed in their hands. That's how they, yeah, that's how they communicated. But yeah, no, the commerce and everything is deaf, hard of hearing, and blind. Yeah, I do for sure. I think that a lot of people are they're more aware now, and they're trying to be inclusive, because it can feel very isolating if you can't communicate and you can't hear or even see. And so I feel like nowadays it's a lot better, and there's progress is being made now. I think it's always about like feeling included. And so I feel like the to help them, it would be to like always email them, try to like FaceTime them. If you do meet anybody who is or deaf or hard of hearing and you don't know ASL, just grab your phone out and just type it on your notes and show it to them. And that can make them feel more included, because you're trying, like you're trying to communicate with them. Yeah, don't overprice your house. Number one thing, do not overprice your house, especially in this market. Yes. Oh no, I think it's still a good market. It's just I think people are just waiting right now because they don't know what the rates are going to do. But it's definitely shifted. It's definitely a buyer's market than it is a seller's market. But I think that a lot of people always think that their home is worth more than it is, and you have to price it right from the get go. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and they always we all of us do it, even me. Like we always think our home is the best home too. And there's it always it always takes the right buyer. And like every house will sell at the right price and for the right buyer. And so even if you have 20, 30 showings on your house and no one puts an offer in, it's because it's not the right buyer. But the right buyer will always come along. But that your house or my house, everyone's house is not the best house everywhere. There's always a bright buyer for somebody. Yeah, a win-win. I always tell everybody to always have your three musts in a house. So you have one and your partner have one, the three must. And because no house is going to be perfect for anybody, because there's always going to be something wrong with the house. But if you have your three must, or six if you're in a buying it together, then I mean then you can make everything work. Yeah. Oh no, I was just giving that as an example. But Colorado's taken a big hit on the market. So the average days on market is probably 120 days to 6 months. but you have to be priced, or it's literally a death of a listing if you overprice. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's happening a lot, especially with this market, because everything back in like 2020, between 2020 and 2023, we're overpricing. Like the market was overpriced. But if you think about it back long time ago, the average days on market was like 6 months to a year. So we're just shifting into basically what you call a normal market. But everybody was so used to the 2020 market, which was not normal. So now we are actually we're in the normal market now. So, but everyone thinks it's like a bubble or it's a crash, and it's not. We're just going into a normal market. Oh, then was, yes, it was really hectic. Like, yeah, that was crazy back then. Oh, it definitely is right now, especially now. I think my vision is to make us, and I know it's asking probably for a lot, but just so we all can just love, like love one another. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's just, I know, I just think that if we all just try to communicate and just try to understand each other, then the world would be a better place, I think. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And everyone needs to know they are all loved. And that's all anybody wants. Thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you so much for having me.